Welcome to another fabulous episode of the Rise of the Feminine podcast. I'm Rukmani. It's a pleasure to be here. In today's episode, we're talking about finding yourself during your Kundalini awakening. And this is such an important topic. And honestly, it hits home so strongly for me because I went through those instances in my Kundalini awakening that I thought I was losing myself and almost like holding down with like my all my strength to like, oh please no, I don't want to lose myself. And it was like shit, it was challenging, so challenging. I i cry so much to my boyfriend about this, honestly, and it's something that I feel is very important to talk about because I really feel that I was not the only one that has ever felt that during their awakening process. And it's somewhat common, it's definitely common with the people I have worked with and the people I work with. But I mean, not shit about you, but don't really hear this topic really often. And why not? So here I am talking about it. Making the shift and the change because dude, it's so necessary. I feel it's so necessary. So going back into this topic, like it was so difficult when I had those major transits and all this channeling that will come through, like honestly, I will feel it in my core that something was gonna come through. And then all of a sudden, like bam, there it was, something speaking through me and like doing all this like mudras and activations to my own body and then to my boyfriend and my boyfriend recording. And so it like happens so frequently and just like one after the other after another that at times I was like, what the fuck am I, and then and really just going into the space of like, am I losing myself, or like, who have I been? If this is what I am or who I am, what have I been? And it was that part of myself that just wanted to hold tight onto the past and not let it go because the past was so valuable for me, because I had a lot of fun, prior to my Kundalini awakening. Of course, shit happened in my life. I did not do very nice things in the past, but I also had a lot of fun and did really great things for other people because I have that motherly nature in me that I love being of service. And this is why I do what I do. I love being of service. I love seeing people shine and seeing how the light bulb goes on, so like my entire life, really, I've been of service for others to the point that kind of lost myself in the process. And that's okay, but I loved my past. Even though the challenging parts, I definitely took it like so to harm myself, and blame myself and like not allow my growth to like. So it was challenging. It was challenging because then in my head it was like, what does this even mean? That prior to this, it was all a lie, and this is where it came from. What really hit so strong? What was the past? Was it just a dream? And granted, I do feel like everything is a dream. But at that moment, it was very serious. And it was like, what's going on? So has everything been a lie? Have I been lied to about who I am? Have I been lying to myself about what I am? And how can I actually see the reality? And what is the reality anyway? When all those massive changes were happening, one after the other, I was like, hello, like, can you just give me a little bit so I can integrate this and process what is going on? Because there's many times in those in the past 5 years that I did not have time to process any of that. And I know it was my being, like, so I'm not complaining about any of this, but I know I had chosen to do that. Otherwise, it wouldn't have happened that way. I know this, but that doesn't mean that it wasn't challenging. That doesn't mean that at times I was like feeling like I was completely losing my mind and completely losing myself and not even having a grasp of what I was, and believing that my past was a complete lie, because I was experiencing all these massive things and all these ginormous awakenings every single day, that it's just like, shit, this is what I was thinking. My life had been based in a massive lie, and a massive lie that I wasn't powerful enough, that I didn't have psychic abilities, that I couldn't see energy, that I couldn't do all these things, that these things were seen as like, this is what the crazy people do. Because I didn't grow up with these things, you guys, I didn't. But I had to come to a realization of like, this is what is happening and I have to go with this. Because if I think about it, if I sit down and try to analyze these things, it's just going to take me more into this loophole of like losing myself and the past has been a lie and whatever. And like, what is real? Where is the reality? Am I here? Am I there? Like what? And this is specifically when I was channeling so much and being in tune of how I work with the energy. And this is the process through which my boyfriend really guided me and helped me to understand how I process things with energy and how I hold space with others in the form of energy, and all this channeling abilities, because he helped me. He was my guinea pig for the first 3 years of this situation. Well, for the first like year and a half of like being with him, it was really just like, let's try this. You probably can do this. He's certified in LP. So then we will do all these techniques, and I will be channeling. I will say like, okay, the neutral person will be Lord Shiva, or the neutral person will be Buddha, and all these things, and it will come through me and I'll just be like, so all these things were really fun, for sure. They were really fun, but at the same time, it was taking me away from who I thought I had been and taking me more to who I am. So then the mind trying to like grab hold of something that it was real could not find it. And so this is why I'm talking about how to really find yourself in the Kundalini awakening, because what is really happening is that you're shedding so many layers, and depending on how you process this, they're shedding fast, like, and for some of you might not be doing it. Some of you might really go through really intense processes and it happens constantly. Some of you not, like the awakening process in each of us is completely different. However, what does happen is that the programming in your mind of like, if somebody had written like, you are and it's being like really ingrained in your brain, and it's just like from that's the operating system, and it's just sending signals, this is what I am, this is what I am, this is what I am. So that is being reprogrammed. So imagine, right, if you have like these two programs and one is kind of like losing its power and the other one is like coming more in it, right? So with its own consciousness, as most things want to stay alive, the other one will freak out. It'd be like, dude, I don't want to be lost. Like, can you just work with me? And so this comes because we cling into the past, because the past was so valuable for us. My past was so valuable for me, and it brought me to where I am. And I didn't want to let it go, because if I let it go at that moment, I thought that I was completely going to forget where I came from and not have any recollections whatsoever of my past and the happy moments, the happy moments. I thought all of those was going to just be erased because there was a story that everything had been a lie. And not everything had been a lie. You know, a lot of things in our lives are not a lie. Love is not a lie. You know, the joy that you experience with your family, with your friends, with your partner, it's definitely not a lie. There's some things in there that definitely could be a lie, but how do you know for sure, you know? So through the awakening process, you're not losing yourself in the form that you will completely never ever remember where you came from. As a matter of fact, it's just a stepping stone. It's just a stepping stone to where you will be or where you are right now. Because they were stepping stones. And so the important thing here is to let go a little bit, little by little, the grasp on the past. That it could be challenging if you go with the mind that it is going to be challenging. If you just understand that at the moment in time for you is challenging, but little by little will soften a little bit more. That little by little you'll be able to let it go and surrender to the experience. Because the more that you grasp the past, the more intense the process is. There's something that is coming through with such a great force that you have called upon. Such a great force. And when you're not letting go of the past, of any other situation, you know, there are these two forces. Like one, it needs the space in order to root itself into your system. And the spaces of this one, the past one, to let go. So it can, you know, it can just go in. But if this one is kind of like, oh, I'm letting go, but I'm letting go, I'm not. And this one's like, okay, I'm coming in, I'm not coming in. I'm like, where's this space? You know, so there's this dance, and this dance is what it creates the tension as you are releasing. That dance is what creates a little bit more pain in the trance itself and the process itself that is completely unnecessary, to be honest. And I'm telling you this from experience. It's completely unnecessary. It took me almost 5 years, probably like 4.5 years, to understand that the reason why my trances were so intense was because I didn't know how to relax. I had no idea how to relax. And of course, you know, some of the beginning intense trances that I like to call them, they had to be a little bit I don't know what else to call it, but crazy. You know, like things had to break off my system. My physical body had to just break itself free pretty much to move some things around. But then in between that, from today, from the first moment that all these things happened until a couple months ago or something, in between, there were many instances where I didn't need to hold on into the past so much. And it was that part of me that was still sabotaging itself because it didn't want to let go of the past. Letting go of the past meant that I was at peace with everything that happened, that I was giving myself the opportunity to experience me as I am without any baggage, without any hold of the past, without anything in the shoulders from my previous life. And this is also something that we all experience. I believe we all experience as we're going through the Kundalini awakening. Is that, do you give permission to yourself to experience the deepest love for you that you could ever experience? Or are you so afraid to feel that love? Because it's massive, honestly. And it continues to expand every single day with every single trance, with every single release. There is more available, more of you available. As human beings, most of us have that fear of loving ourselves or accepting ourselves, because there has been this programming going on that you're not good enough, that you don't look the way, whatever it is, all those kinds of things that really are rooted in society nowadays. And luckily it's changing, but that has been in your system. And so that part, that was written and recorded in your system, like really deep, of course it will be like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Remember what is written in your system. Remember that. Okay, no, this is not. And this is something that you got to break off. You got to break off of that. And you break off of that trusting. I've heard so many people say this trust is very difficult. Trust is not difficult at all. Honestly, my story, and again, in the story of those that I have worked with, is very easy when we remember. When we remember that there was no thought prior to coming to this experience. That when you were in the womb, were you like thinking like, oh my gosh, are like my legs gonna grow? Like, am I gonna like stay here? It's just like a full embrace and love of the mother that is just like makes you feel that you have it all, that you're it all, and no worries whatsoever. No worries whatsoever, because something has you, something has your back, something loves you unconditionally, something feeds you without you having to worry about it, which is exactly what happens to us. But the more that we continue to grow as an age, at times the less and less we remember that. So trust is part of a unique way of being. It has been forgotten, but is there. Trusting and even remembering just a little bit, putting that in your, what I like to tell my clients, your sticky note, putting that in your sticky note so that it goes into your system. Like it's there. And you no longer need to hold into the past. I mean, what is the need of holding onto the past where the past will always be with you? Do you know what I mean? You wouldn't be here without your past. So your past lives within you. Every single part of your story still lives within you. Some are just the shadow aspects, some are the neutral aspects, some are the light aspects. But they're all inside of you. What makes you think that you actually have to hold on to them? It's like, do you hold on to yourself? Like, every day, like, I don't want to go. So you have it all already. You are here. You really are. Just as part of the process can be challenging because it's just showing you what is not you. What you can call it lies, If you want to call it lies, it sounds kind of funky at times. Just like that which is not you is showing you. And of course, imagine, right? So if you have always had this wonderful mirror, and oh my gosh, when you look at yourself in the mirror, it's like, yes, this is the most wonderful being ever. Look at the sexiness, etc. And then all of a sudden, the image in the mirror changes. And it's something like, wow. You're like, whoa. Of course, it's going to be a little shocking. Let's be honest. Of course, it's going to be a little shocking. This is something, that does happen. It will be shocking. However, knowing that you are in the process and knowing that that actually happens, it can help you to surrender a little bit more to the experience. So in the process of shifting from that reflection in the mirror to the other reflection, you're not holding on to the other one out of fear because you will see that one. You let go of that beautiful image of yourself, so you can see the other one that is coming, and you can see behind that scary sight. When you see behind the scary sight, when you surrender to that in its teachings, when you alchemize it and integrate it, the next image of yourself that comes back into the mirror is an even more beautiful version of yourself. So now, knowing this, right? You have the previous self that it was like you've always seen it, beyond beautiful and powerful. Then you have in the middle, let's call it the middle, that version that is scary looking. It is like, oh my gosh, I don't know. And then in the other one after the scary looking one is the most powerful version of yourself yet. Now, knowing that, would you hold on into the previous one? Would you tell her, oh my gosh, don't, or him, oh, whatever you want to call it. Like, please stay. No, right? I mean, I will hope not. So now here, this can actually help you. So then the process is not so intense, doesn't feel so much pain. That doesn't mean that as you're releasing, you're not going to feel these emotions. Trust me, you will. It's part of it. As something releases, is part of it. However, that doesn't mean that you got to stay in that sensation for hours. You don't. If you do, normally it's because, well, a couple things can happen. You really need to go really deep in that to feel something and just integrate it, or whatever it is. Or you just don't know how to trust and let go of the grip. And like as I said, in parts of my journeys, yeah, for sure, I know that some things needed to happen the way that they did. At the very beginning, when the trances started to get like super intense, because somehow that gave me strength and energy, as weird as it sounds, because at times I don't even know what I took the energy from. At times I will go through a massive trance when I lived in Cusco, in Peru. And then right after, I had to take a shower and go teach. There's only one time that I called the holistic center where I worked, and I said, I can't show up. I was too in the integration, if I can even call it that. Like whatever had happened was like so massive that I couldn't walk very well, and I had to walk like 30 minutes to get to the studio, to the center. One time in the 6 months that I lived in Cusco, and it was intense, But then I had a trance, one of the recent trances, that at times, I don't know if I call it a trance, where I was shown by Ganesh, the deity I work with. And she said, let it pass. You don't need to stay in this energy. Just let it move through you. Because it's coming up, because it's finding its way out. But you don't need to hold it. And for sure, I felt it very deeply, and I was crying, and my body was still moving and releasing. But it was gone in minutes. And that's when she said, you had been holding to the past. This is the reason why it hurt so much when you were doing these releases. So again, it's not something that you need to do it unless there's something there for you. Especially if you're going through major transitions in the awakening process. Remember the mirror technique, because that can have such an impact in you as you're going through the processes. And having the inquiry, like, am I holding on to something? Am I tightening it up? Because like if you get too tense, similar things happen. Learning to just, this is happening because you're ready. And you're not losing yourself. You're actually having a grasp of who you are and what you are. You're just shedding and letting go all that which is not yours. And as you do that, you see you and you feel you. And you go back into the confident being that you are with all your magic, with all your magic, with all your gifts. And there's no more that the story in the mind of childhood. It's just like, I know what I am and I know what I came here to do. And this is it. You will get there. Trust me, I know you will get there. I'm not sure how long your journey will be. But again, if I can make it, so can you. We're not different at all. We're not different. And I'm sharing this because I fought so much and my trances were very intense. And if this can be a way of helping, let it be so. Again, you don't need to suffer through all of that. It's actually a really beautiful, beautiful journey. Very joyful journey. It can be very playful. It can be just like this, super quick, if you let go and surrender and trust and know that as you're going through your process and your trances and your releases, the mirror is shifting. The mirror is shifting, and then you're seeing yourself again as like the quote unquote, very scary version, but it continues to shift, and it will shift really quickly if you just let whatever is happening and passing through you pass. It's energy. It's energy. So think about the suffering, right? As pure consciousness and pure love, that it's almost like there's no wrong and bad. But as humans, we label things. So everything that you have been seeing as wrong and bad of you, it's coming up to the surface to be alchemized so then you can see as it is, divine. And the more that you do this in a more gentle way for you, with compassion is the key, then the most gentle way that the mirror will shift. And then you're not like tight. You don't need to be tight at all, at all. So remember that it's very important, and I invite you to go back into why you chose this, because you chose it. It's happening because you chose it. It's happening because you chose it. Why you chose it. Why you wanted to be aware of many things. Why you wanted to experience a deeper version of yourself. And keeping the why with you. And knowing that if you were calling upon that, the version that you were when you were calling upon that, it's not the real version. I seem like the most pure aware, because it was definitely real, not taking away that. So then, as you continue to go through the journey, you realize that it's not that you're losing yourself, but you're finding yourself and you're rooting yourself in the new version of yourself. So it's a little lighter. Just feel the energy as I'm saying these things rather than the first part of this episode. It's more gentle. It's softer rather than dense, tight, intense, perhaps. Yeah. May this serve you very, very well. May this serve you very, very well. Because you came here to be happy, to be joyful in your way of being, and have the confidence of who you are and what you came here to do. In your totality, with all your gifts, goodness, with all your gifts. And it's a pleasure to be here with you. Such a pleasure to be here. May you continue to have a blessed week, and I'll see you next time.